Shalom, shalom. This week's parsha is Parshat Teruma, and in it, it talks about making the Mishkan, the Tabernacle, and it is, as people say, a resting place for God's presence. And I think the reason why people say that is because a few pasukim in, God says that if you make for me a suli mikdash v'shachanti betocham, if you make for me a sanctuary, then I will dwell within. And so I think this is why people say that it's a resting place for God's Shekhinah, God's presence. However, I believe that's a bit of misnomer, and I'd like to explain. But I want to go into two pasukim, that one, but also one that comes at the very beginning when it says that Moshe, Hashem spoke to Moshe, and it says to speak to Bnei Israel, and these are the words of the pasuk: "V'chu li truma me'et kol ish asher yidvenu libo tikchu et trumati," and that is defined in my English translation as speak to the children of Israel and let them take for me a portion from every man whose heart motivates him. You shall take my portion. Now it's very important to look at these words, and it's just abundant with meaning and different things that we can learn and pull out from the specific words that are used. So let's begin with Bikhu li Truma. To take for me, Truma is a portion. Now, the word Truma comes from the word litrom, which is to set aside. We say that in Israel when you give tzedakah, when you give money for charity, you say Truma, litrom. You are set aside this money to be given for that purpose. And the word latrom also has the word the resh vav mem in it, which is to uplift. So when we are going to set aside these numerous items that God lists that people can dedicate and give to the Mishkan, to the tabernacle, all sorts of things: gold, silver, copper, turquoise, purple, scarlet wool, linen, goat hair, red dyed ramskins, tachashins, acacia wood, oil, spices, or all different things, shoam stones, stones of sunny, everything. So there's abundant things that can be given, and that these things are set aside for this specific purpose to make this tabernacle, this Mishkan. And it says, Vaikuli Truma, so to take that thing which the people set aside for this purpose to make the Mishkan, from Me'et Kol Ish, from every man who Yidvenu Libo, whose heart inspires him. And I'm going to go back to that. Remember this, whose heart inspires him. It says, Tchu et Trumati, from him take my portion. Wow. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack here because, first of all, God is God, and God doesn't need a home to live in. God doesn't need people to give him things. I mean, it's kind of a little bit, it seems a little bit silly. Everything on earth is really God's, but God has given, it says, as we say, we just said in Rosh Chodesh in the Hallel, that God, Hashemayim Shemayim Hashem, Va'aretz Natan Livnei Adam. Hashem gave us this land, this earth, and everything that's on it for us. So if something we have earned or gotten by honest means has come our way, God has given it to us. It's our possessions. So it's ours to do as we like. So if we're going to take something of it, it's God gives us the decision what to do with it. We could do whatever we want. If our heart tells us that we want to give it in this building that is made for God's presence, his Shekhinah, then it's up to man to decide what he wants to give. And God says, I only want, that which everybody wants to give of their own generosity of their heart. Now, of course, God does not need a physical residence to reside in. It's a bit of a juvenile way of looking at it, but it's with the words that are chosen when we're discussing the tabernacle, there's very strong hints to a marriage because it says asuli mikdash, to do like mikdash, to make holy, like we say. And when you have a man and woman getting married, there's kiddushin. You're setting aside yourself holy for that person, and you're coming together in a marriage. Now, part of this Jewish marriage is part of the ceremony is the man will give a woman a possession, or it can be a ring. And this ring is symbolic. Of course, you can't buy a woman with a ring, much to many people's chagrin, but it's a symbol. It's a symbol that you are dedicating your life to this person. And the beautiful thing is, under the chuppah, when a man does give a woman a ring, it goes on the right forefinger. And the reason for that is because it's a direct line, they say, the direct line from the right forefinger to the heart, Yudvenu libo, some whose heart inspires him to want to go into this connection, to want to go in this marriage. Much like us, when we're building this sanctuary, this mikdash, it's a symbolic um, it's a symbolic giving of our possessions to show that we're entering into this marriage with God, that we want to give of what is now ours, and we want to give it as a symbol to God that we see ourselves in a marriage, in a committed marriage, meaning our life's purpose is dedicated to God and to God's will, to the contract, the Torah. Torah is like a ketubah ke'ilu. It's this marriage that we're dedicating our life between us and God. And so that's the connection of the heart. And tuchu et trumati, to take my how to say, my portion. So this is something that we're giving as a symbol back to God. I mean, God has already initiated this process on the mountain with the Ten Commandments and with opening the conversation to each and every single Jew. And this is what we are giving back to show that we are in this relationship as well. And then when it says asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham, so to make for me holy, like I said, kiddushim in marriage. So now we're committing to this relationship to God and His Torah, and this Mishkan, this tabernacle, is the symbolic representation of our marriage. Just like, let's say, a man and a woman get married, right? And they build a home together, and man or wife will say, okay, let's build this home that we can live together. Does that mean that they're there physically all the time and that's where they're always? No, it doesn't mean that, but it means that this is the home that we built together, that we symbolizes our life together, our process, our growth, our years together, our base. So to this place that we build for us and God as a meeting place. And then Hashem says, V'shachanti b'tocham. And it's interesting because asu li, li is the singular, and then you should make for me, and I can dwell within. Tocham is plural. And the reason why tocham is plural, and if it was only talking about a house, it would be I will dwell in it. But he says I will dwell among them. But I think it's within them. If we dedicate ourselves to God, to this kind of life, to the Torah, and we're committed, and this Mishkan symbolizes that commitment, then God will dwell within us. That will come through, and then it'll be a relationship on both sides. We've committed to God. We've opened a space for God because God allows us, since He gave us this earth to live on. He doesn't impose Himself on us. He will, so to speak, turn the other way if we're not interested in that relationship. But if we're interested and we show that we're interested and we're making ourselves holy and we're committed, He'll dwell within us. And he has the capacity to dwell within each and every person and all over the universe, wherever he wills to be there. But he allows us to invite us in. And it's our right and our privilege to do so. And that's what I think this whole tabernacle is symbolic. And it's not necessary in order for us to have a relationship to God, but it's just a beautiful symbol of a strong, healthy relationship between us and God. And that's why we yearn for the third Beit HaMikdash, where we can show that we're dedicated um, to God and that we want Him to be amongst the whole nation, because we can all cultivate a relationship with God individually, but it's another thing on a national level. If we all accept God and we all come together and say we want to show our love and commitment to God as a nation, that's something that's super powerful and a day that I look forward to, hopefully in the near future. And with that, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.